Lots of plants here at Plant Daddy Express, but this video is gonna be about the mound. The landscaping here is looking great. You come over here, walk on these steps. This is also an update video on some of the ornamental trees here, but you know, I got lots and lots of plants I want to talk about. This is the Blues Weeping Spruce, looking absolutely amazing. Exactly what I envisioned here at this spot. I dug up an Annabelle hydrangea literally in November. That is a chartreuse on the loose nepeta. You got a whole bunch of different things. These are lupines that grew from seed. I did not plant a single one of these. You've got Veronicas. This is snow in summer. So, and I would not plant this way if I was doing a landscaping job. If I was, a homeowner, this is my property. I didn't have a plant business. I probably wouldn't be doing this same exact thing. I could probably, improve and take the best things and just do more of the good things that you're seeing here. But here at Plant Daddy Express, we're just kind of, not really, a little bit of experimentation, but also just kind of wanting to plant all the different plants that I'm selling here potentially. And, because people gotta see what some of these plants are gonna do. And I also, I've got plants that aren't blooming here at Plant Daddy Express that, that are gonna be blooming. And the goal is to have blooms throughout the year. And pretty much no matter what time of year it is, other than maybe winter, then I got something that's looking good. Because I always want to have pollinators, I always want to have butterflies, and I always want to have something that gets me out here and motivated, and something that makes me happy. So, the creeping thyme is literally coming over these rocks onto the landscape fabric. But this spring I decided, okay, I'm gonna plant my best daylilies. You got Thin Man, Exotic Starfish over here. Venus Flytrap was a really nice one last year. And then I planted a tiny piece of Magical Mystery Show. That one's probably dead and gone. This is White Eyes Pink Dragon, and then Pink Stripes. I got some other daylilies, but basically this mound here, in the early spring, mid-spring, you got the lupines that are going absolutely crazy, followed by these bachelor's buttons, which this plant every year grows like crazy. Even these plants down here, they grow like crazy. They reach about 2 foot high off the ground, and then they just keep on going. But then these plants, they still got tons of flowers to go and to grow, basically. But before that, these things are a nice pink and purple, the lungwort. But then you got a red tree here, red smoke bush, bridal wreath spirea, Carl Forester grass. Once it gets the seed heads in early summer, typically, them things hold all season long. But one thing you'll see on this mound is loads of not only pollinators, but creeping thyme. This is pink chintz, but it doesn't really flower for that long. This right here is a bonfire patio peach. This Gaillardia right here grew tons of seedlings, because this one plant was absolutely tiny this early spring. But literally last year, this thing grew out to here. Gaillardia is one that's not the sturdiest for most varieties, I guess, or this variety. It's not very sturdy, but it has so many flowers, it's ridiculous. Blue Eddie Ornamental Onion. Check that out. Creeping thyme pathway. I dug up some pieces, and I dug up something that was right there, so I need to plant something, that's going to be, extra special. But, the creeping thyme pathway, is kind of, getting invaded by this bush. But this is the type of stuff that makes your landscaping, you know, have a little bit of age and mystery to it, because you don't know what's on the other side, you know, of this wall. And you want to create pockets in your landscaping, and you want to create varying terrain and textures. If you have a small little backyard, you know, that could even help your landscaping, because then you can create these little pockets and stuff like that. Or if you have a big backyard, you know, get rid of the flatness of the area by planting some taller things, even on a mound, so then you have, you know, little areas to go. Look at this. This is a hosta. This one's called Hyuga Irijuro. Then this one's First Frost. This is the best year that this has ever looked. You know, I got full sun things right next to shade things, and they're all happy. This plant right here is Blue Eddy Ornamental Onion again. Coral bells can do good almost anywhere. This is a mature specimen of a blue mouse ears hosta. You got rough lemon hosta. This is a puff and fluff smoke bush, but you could also plant royal purple, velvetini, or a number of different smoke bushes, and it's going to get those really nice plumes. Annabelle hydrangea. This is not the best plant, you know, but it flowers each year, as you can see. And look at the Weigelia. Always something going on with almost every plant. The spirea will be flowering very soon. This is Shirobana, but I don't have any of those for sale. It's kind of dumb of me to have that. And I mean, right here, you just got so many flowers, so many things mixed in, where you're always going to have something, and they're always blocking out most of the weeds, you know. But like I said, this is not how I would design this if I was doing it for a landscape customer, if I was doing it for a homeowner, you know, or definitely not a business. What I would be doing is I'd be doing mass planting. I'd be doing big groups, you know, or I'd be doing, like, you know, 3 different things maybe the whole way. I wouldn't be doing so many different things, but you can do the same thing if you want. The lupines are going to flower. And then these Liatris spicata, this one right here is Blazing Star or Gay Feather. Those things are big plants. They'll grow up 2 or 3 foot tall. Pink spikes. I mean, you got some absolutely mature plants that'll be flowering when the daylilies are flowering. So midsummer, when it's super hot out, those will be flowering. Hummingbirds love the coral bell flowers. And then I've got an asparagus. Got an asparagus popping up, and I'm just going to leave that thing, see what it does. And then this year I planted a balloon flower and another balloon flower or 2 over there. You know, I got things I didn't even talk about that's throughout here. I got more Blazing Star that all these popped up from seed. But over here, I literally thought about chopping down. I told my dad, I'm like, we should just chop down this tree. It was really getting in the way of this mound over here. If you can imagine, this mound, the first things that I planted were a couple bushes, and then the mound literally just came across here, and I had some different bushes right here, and it literally just came around here. When I put this mound in, the landscape fabric was 2 or 3 little strips, 4 little strips maybe over here, and you know, this is that mound, the Liatris. Basically, this, you know, none of this existed when this mound was put in. Back over here, I thought about chopping down this tree. The next thing you know, I put in a little bit of a mound over there, and then I was like, you know what, I'm putting in a shade garden. So over here I am growing a couple milk crates, but you know, coneflowers, they're full sun plants, but they are wildly adaptable, and they can grow in the shade, sometimes even better than in the sun. But I've got those plants planted here. You could almost say strategically, but I've got those planted in here to give a little bit of shade to these hostas, because this tree sometimes doesn't produce as much shade as it should, and this tree is getting bigger each year. But basically, this is a Galaxy hosta, specialty hosta. And then down here, this is a Galaxy as well, but sometimes the leaves are just crazy. It's a streaked hosta that's somewhat stable. You got Lamium, coral bells, Lamium is about to go crazy and flower pinkish purple all over. Regal Splendor hosta, I'm digging this up and replacing with something fancier. Over here, this is a hosta seedling, and it was a really nice blue, and now it's getting stripes and stuff. Last year, I don't think it was a quarter of this prettiness or whatnot, and then that leaf is interesting. This right here, I believe, is a Tardiana June, so it's in the June hosta family. Then this fern right here is starting to kind of grow over and stuff. It's some sort of painted fern. I don't know what kind of mouse this is, but it's a church mouse, a school mouse, or some sort of mouse. Might be a mighty mouse, I'm not sure. Look at this. It's got a leaf that's a different color. Over here, I have a seedling that was absolutely stunning. And then it got sunburned because this tree is not growing. So this thing should survive, better survive, because it was like 70 bucks for both, to pay for these. So over here, they got tags too. You see openly pollinated is OP, but Wasitas is the parent plant. Yellow streaked hosta. Coral bells. And then this is dancing in the moonlight. I took one plant, split it up, and you can see this has got multiple divisions. I took one plant last year. And like this one, that one's got like 6 divisions, and I could have done the same. I got 6 pieces here, which are now nice plants. These bloomed nicely last year. And I think because this oak tree is not growing its leaves, you're getting some good growth on the cone flowers. But then over here, this tag has kind of faded. But last year, this seedling was terrible. I'm telling you, I don't think it was nearly this pretty. And look at that. These seedlings can do anything. They can revert. They can go all green. And then this is a sun mouse hosta. Should have small little leaves, but it's like forced to get these big leaves in the slightly shadier area. But like autumn frost, this was a really nice yellow, and then in the sun it is turning really nice. So this autumn frost is literally a sport off of the first frost. But this is my best-selling hosta. I got another piece there, and I thought I had 3 pieces, but this right here is my most expensive daylily currently, and I'm sure I'm gonna beat that record very soon by buying like a $100 hosta or something. But this one's Brazilian flamingo with big old giant wavy red flowers. Medusa spruce. You got red hot pokers. Over here, every single one, and I'm going to get into this mound here in a second, but every single one of my spruces literally the top leader buds died. They just didn't grow this year because of the funky weather that we've had. So this right here is a Abies Laciocarpa Glacier. You know, the needles underneath are silvery, but then the new growth is a bright blue. And then the blue spruce. I mean, I planted this thing, I think in November. Like everything was dead when I planted that, I believe. But the snow in summer, autumn joy sedum behind it. Over here, I've got a couple salvias, red salvias. Touch of blush heliopsis is top tier new proven winners plant. And then I got Monterey Jack Daylily. This is a random who knows what type of tall phlox, but it's a really pretty light pink that's grown better than anything, and I have these for sale. And then I planted 2 clematis together, and they've got maybe a couple flower buds. But so over here, I am removing every one of these ornamental grasses that are right here, and I planted 15 of them. They are evergreen, but the seed head is not what I wanted. I wanted little bunny grass, and this might even be some wild weedy grass that just kind of grew, and I thought was little bunny grass, and I split it up, planted it over here, And now the grasses, they're decent looking, but I wanted little bunny grass, and I might change that up. But then you got Millennium Allium. I'm planting some sort of evergreen tree over here, and I only planted a couple salvias. And like this one right here, this is a salvia, does great in full sun, but this is a seedling. I planted this one, I'm pretty sure. You see a bumblebee on that. This is Little Moonshine Yarrow. Pink Dreams Nepeta, really pretty plant. Gold, like look at this. This whole thing, the whole tip died on this one. This right here is Gold Drift Weeping Spruce. So like the rest of this plant is really nice. That's a seedling. I think I planted that. Over here you got a Jacobson's Pyramid Larch, very interesting. I planted this salvia. But then you've got just different ornamental grasses all throughout this mound, because I knew that I wanted this mound to look absolutely amazing later in the year. The later in the year videos on this mound are gonna look a heck of a lot better, but you know, I planted confetti lantana. You know, this stuff grows 3 foot across, 3 foot wide. Darker leaves with peach and yellow flowers. I mean, I've also got some other things throughout this mound, you know, butterfly milkweed. And then this one right here, this is last year's growth on a standing ovation grass. And then this is a little bunny grass. I know I should trim that. And then this is Muhlenbergia grass. You can see what the seed heads did last year. And then over here, you've got a Glauca pendula, Picea pungens. This is a white spruce. The buds on it were absolutely ridiculously big and crazy. The tip just didn't grow. Didn't get ate, just didn't grow. So this is a new leader. It's gonna grow funkier now, but this spruce is just gonna double in size. I've got I got tons of space to work with, tons of space to plant things, but I don't know, I wanna know that if I plant something, it's gonna be one heck of a plant. And you know, I might even remove some of these things, but for the most part, this is a Firelight Tidbit hydrangea. You've got variegated iris, and all of these in pots that I had died. But like when the sun is setting, these variegated irises later in the year are like 50% white. But these variegated irises, they bloom a dark purple. But like when the sun is setting, the this view is absolutely amazing. But these, like I said, these plants are 50% white later in the year. This 9 bark is growing absolutely ridiculously crazy. And then you can also see, check out these round blooms all the way up the plant on all the new growth. And you can see a deer taste tested this branch, but it's still flowering. 9 bark come in multiple colors, but if you want a taller, bigger shrub, 9 bark might be the way to go. And then the ginkgo I planted here died. But basically, over here, I knew I had a lot of space to work with, but I wanted bigger drifts. So then I planted 5 Sassy Summer Sunset Yarrow, and I planted 5 Moonshine Yarrow. And look at this, on both of these yarrows, you can see down low, they are less happy because the ones up there are receiving a lot less moisture. These down low, you know, in the spring last year, we had tons of rain. The rain goes down, and then those are just drenched. But then the Sassy Summer Sunset Yarrow, those grew seedlings, so we're gonna see what those do. And then over here, I've got a Teton Tower blue spruce. That one grew the top bud, thankfully. This is a Waterfall blue spruce. You're not gonna be able to find a picture of that one online, because that was recently grafted. And then this over here is a Golden Feathers blue spruce. So this is a blue spruce that literally the new growth is yellow. I planted this last year, survived over the winter. All of these plants did. I haven't planted a single plant on this mound that's new other than, I guess, the annuals. So I planted a bubblegum petunia, Over here, this is a American hornbeam. I really love the bark on this tree. It's multi-stemmed tree. It's gonna hopefully block out the neighbor John. And then the new growth on this 9 bark is crazy. But I just love using foliage colors, but then it's got flowers, you know, that are looking good as well. I really need to smell and see if this smells good. Let me try. It's got a smell to it, guys. It's good. Gets my approval. Good smelling plant, but then you got to get right up to it to really smell it, unlike a lilac or something. And then look at this. I dug this tree up from the backyard out in the weeds. I dug this birch up. I have no idea what kind of birch it is, but literally giving some shade. This tree I dug up from the woods, giving some shade. You know, I got a gold drift spruce over here. Look at this. Okay, this one I think might have got nipped by a deer, but like then it is like, okay, this is just disgusting. But literally the rest of the plant doing good. You know, Stachy's humolo, Stachy's humolo, Stachy's humolo. This right here is the path, an open area, you know, flanked by ornamental grasses as you go that are going to be light, dainty, that are going to mark the area. But I literally got the same plant just kind of continued, so then it kind of marks out the pathway. And then I got to talk about these trees right here. These things put on 3 foot of growth last year, and they both survived frosts, even though they kind of died back. But these are twisty baby locusts. Extremely contorted tree. It's like a corkscrew willow or something. But look at this random seedling that popped up flowering now. Russian sage. I thought it had really nice buds, and I think the frost got the buds, but this plant just needs trimmed back, but I probably won't trim it back. Flowers literally all summer to fall along. You know, I got more irises, I got more grasses, standing ovation grass. Literally, look at this. This one got nipped by a deer, I'm pretty sure, again, because they're annoying, but this is a Nova Scotia weeper spruce. Really nice buds on that one, and they're, you know, last year it put on a good amount of growth. But then I got cone flowers, because this seeding area right here, imagine this whole area with the seeding area that's just top tier. It's going to be like, I forget if it's $5,000 or $3,000 to finish this whole area, and that's like not even including the capstone. So it's going to be thousands of dollars to finish this, and that's why it's not finished. But like this seeding area, and I got to make improvements to this area, and this whole area will look really, really nicely later in the year. I got Neptune Nepet over here, and look at this specimen of a tree. This over here is basically not even a mature gold drift weeping spruce. And look at this. That's 6 inches of new growth. Last year it did not put on 6 inches of new growth. I just planted it last year. And it does get a little bit of sun scorch, but all the new growth is completely fine right now. Really, really pretty plant. And then I got 3 colors of salvia. Not 3 colors, but I got 3 of the same color red, and then 3 blue salvias. These are annual salvias. And then look at this. Branera. Not a single speck, other than right here, I guess. But last year, not a single speck from the sun or a fungus got to this plant. This year, it's flowering. I mean, it's like one of the only true blue perennials. Like, this plant is pretty. It survived the winter. I mean, looks like it survived easily. And then it gets morning shade, but then later in the day, it gets full sun. So, I mean, look at this tree. And then in the shade, I got one of these grasses, just because. This is a Appalachian sedge. Birch again. And then this is one of those giant, the biggest salvia that's on the market right now, I think. The salvia big sky. But this plant is in a good area with good soil, I believe. Nothing crazy, but like this salvia should be 3 foot tall right now, or by midsummer, and it is not grown that big. But these grasses down here to soften this rock, you know, I got those there. But then these 3 grasses here are redhead grass. Grows the seed heads in like late July, early August, and the seed heads reach almost a foot long. Absolutely perfect for this space. So can you just imagine? I mean, you don't really have to imagine at this point, but this tree is leafed out. And then literally, I knew that I needed something tall there because I've got a wall. Can you see it? I got a wall of big plants. Before I planted these plants, I mean, it's just flat. But the goal is to create a wall so that when you're sitting at the seating area, you feel like you're in a room. So when you're sitting over here, you've got just a wall of plants. And these grasses later in the year, the shade house later, or like not even later in the year, but later in the day when the sun is setting, you know, you've got the light playing off of all these different blades of grass, the trees and everything else. You don't even have to have a good sunset. Like the grass and the irises and stuff combined with the constant flowers of all different types all over the place. I mean, it gives you one heck of an area later in the year, but even like right now, it's just looking awesome. So some of this was planned. Some of this was like, you know, just kind of planting random things. Over there, you can kind of tell I planted random things. This pathway is kind of random. The shade can be random, but then over here, this area is somewhat planned, somewhat still kind of wild, but like, can you guys see the vision? I'm going to remake this video when it's looking hopefully even better, but you know. And then I guess I'll just come over here and talk about some things. I wanted to make a video talking about the mounds here at Plant Daddy Express, landscaped mounds. I've been selling plants constantly or whatnot, but over here I just wanted to plant ajugas, ground covers, and very bright plants. But like, look at that. That one kind of died, but I got a couple chunks. Steel appeal, gold mine, ajuga, firewitch dianthus. That's another sedum. Lemon zinger sedum. Color guard yucca with new growth. Silver mound artemisia. Lime zinger sedum. And then another type of sedum, and then look at this rock. Look at this rock. But then over here, more ajuga, nothing to see here. Hydrangea tree, weeping larch. Plants for sale. Over here, this mound's really nice. I've got literally 13 of these. And they're for sale here. I've been selling them. In the lamb's ear family, Stachy's humolo. Imagine every one of those survived in pots. Every one in the ground survived. I got, you know, just a big drift, a snake, big pocket, and I got a couple more over there. All these are going to be flowering pink. All of these over here, these yarrows, these are a drift of peach. The backdrop, other than these couple spruces and stuff, are literally 3 different varieties of penstemon. And then over here, I'm hoping I can reach these with the hose, but I basically got petunias for the first time ever. Verbena, petunia. Touch of Blush Heliopsis is a perennial, but then I got salvias, coleus, lantana. I'm gonna have a million colors of just petunias, lantanas, verbenas, and salvias all across here. This is a weeping redbud. Weeping redbud over here. Leafing out very, very nicely. And then more petunias down here. Snow in summer and an asparagus plant. But verbena down there. Look at the color. You can get those at any garden center probably. And then I had to dig up 4 of these alliums, Millennium Allium. And but literally all these are going to be flowering so nicely. What should I do here? Because I've got this big section. I thought about planting another spruce tree right here. You know, something that's not going to get huge. Just like this tree right here. Look at this. Weeping white spruce. I had that one over there. The top literally, it's got a piece growing up, but like this over here, this tree was 220 bucks, I think, or maybe it was 180 bucks when I planted it. When I planted it, it came up to here, and then this is a segment, and then last year it grew like that, and then this year it's going up again. But look at this, all this is new growth. Such a pretty plant. And then over here, you know, I'm making videos and stuff, but primarily you've got the lemon zinger sedum, wildfire sedum, ajuga. I don't know what's happening to that one, but it's gonna survive hopefully. And then you got just the ajugas, the sedum, and I took a bunch of pieces of that because I need to plant stuff to sell. And look at this, the size of my hand. And this is still small. I got that one, I got that one. Look at the colors. Here at Plant Daddy Express. Look at that, looks like a coral. Growing almost too good. And then I planted that, snow angel, coral bell. And then over here, this is just the extension. And then I have shade on these hens and chicks that I planted because these are planted in 99% gravel. And I got an Angelina's teacup sedum. And I got some other sedums that I planted. And then I got these rocks hollowed out. And I've got sedums that are going to be planted in every one of them things, and Irish moss. Over here, I mean, no one's got this. I mean, unless you know about like the fancy conifers, this one's got cones on it. Imagine if I could grow something like this from seed, but I don't think so. Eventually I'll graft. But this is a weeping, or not a weeping, just a standard white spruce with the new growth is just all yellowish white. I had this shipped to me from Oregon, and look at that. The top literally died on this one too, I'm telling you guys. It's not from like the cold, because that doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's from the cold like snaps or whatnot, but then this over here, this is a Max Gold. This one right here. And then this one right here, I think it's called a Prickly Pete Laciocarpa. And then over here you've got Larix decidua Creech or Krieg. Two of them side by side. This one right here, I'm not going to include pictures, but this one right here is like literally one of the most ridiculous looking plants. But, and then you can also imagine these plants, these yarrows right here, I've got 11 of them. These plants are going to be 2 foot off the ground, 2 foot wide, peach flowers. And over here I've got some salvias, but those are getting removed because I need to make use of this space. And I got to do something better. I need something that stands out from the road, because the road's over there just past them spruces. But I'm hoping to put up the shade cloth today. I made some good sales for a Friday. You know, I got a whole bunch of things for sale here at Plant Daddy Express, but like, you know, I also planned it to where when you're walking down here, you got a focal point, you got a pathway, but then the pathway turns. And then eventually I'll have crap over here. But like, this is just the beginning. Stuff's just waking up. I guess I woke up a little while ago, but like stuff is just starting to do something now. You know, can you just imagine the pictures that you could take? You know, I sit over here in the little bit of shade. This is at Plant Daddy Express, Northern Ashland County, Ohio. I sell plants, I don't ship plants. Nothing too crazy as, you know, as far as like landscape design. I just got a bunch of random stuff, but some things it's like, okay, now I can see, like, you know, got lots of fun stuff to talk about here at Plant Daddy Express. You could literally talk about plants for hours. And some things I just planted that I'm really excited about too. But like, this plant will flower, that will be flowering like crazy. Those give some interesting flowers. This is later in the year. daisies will flower. Everything that's here will have a flower, and like, you know, most things aren't even in flower as I'm making this video. And that thing already flowered. That'll flower. That'll flower. That down there will flower. That'll flower. These will flower up to here. That'll be flowering. So like that'll be flowering when that's flowering, when that's flowering, when that's probably flowering, and that's also going to be flowering, and those are going to be flowering. So, all right, I got to end this video, guys. This is Plant Daddy Express. I sell plants. I grow plants. I collect plants. I want to make a bunch of other videos. I got a collection of hostas in there that I wish could all be planted right here, but I got limited space. Look at that, a customer. I guess not, because they're going to continue on driving. But also, look at this Appalachian sedge. Grows in the shade. Softens that rock. I dug that rock up while digging a hole with the excavator. It's really cool. I got a fern. That fern's like 3 years old or something, 2 years old. Plant Daddy Express.